Here we are again in our scene. I'm going to bring up the menu by pressing the B button on my controller. And you can see I brought up the content editor there. Another way to bring up the menu would be, if you're in the main menu, you can select Timeline. And that brings up our editor panel, our Timeline editor panel. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to practice keyframing. It's possible to do basic keyframe animation inside the content editor. So let's move forward a little bit in time. I'm going to select my chicken, and then I'm going to set a keyframe. So you can see these are our animation controls down here. So I'm going to set a key. I'm going to move the timeline forward, and if I look very closely, you can see that on my IFX container there's a small blue line. That represents a keyframe. Let's reposition our chicken and do our next keyframe. So we'll just move him. Let's make him move over here so we can pretend he's walking across the room. I've positioned him in the second position, and I'm going to press Set Key. And now when we scrub through the timeline by grabbing it like this, we can see that he slides across the floor. Okay, well, that's okay, but it's a bit strange. Let's jump back to the very start and we'll play it again. It's okay, he starts moving, but he kind of walks sideways, doesn't he? I think I want to fix my first key so he doesn't turn sideways. So what you do is you want to be able to jump to the exact spot where the key is. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So you want to be able to jump to the exact spot here. And the way you do that is you select the object and then you go jump to previous. And you can see the timeline has jumped perfectly to the previous key. So this is a bit more of a precision rotation I want to do. So I'm going to select the correct axis by using the rotation selection button. And then I'm going to use my thumbstick to very carefully rotate the chicken. Now that's more like it. He's oriented in the direction that I want him to walk. So I'm going to press the set key again. And there we go. Let's try that animation, see if that worked. That's great. Oh, look, he's facing the right direction. That's perfect. Wonderful. So we've done a very nice little animation there with the chicken. Let's try something else. I'm going to select the chicken. I'm going to move him again. This time I'm going to select him here, and I'm going to use the move option. And we'll just make him go, I don't know, up into the ceiling. Goodbye, chicken. But now we have to set a key, because if we don't set a key and we scrubbed the timeline, our movement would be lost. So it's very important that we set a key now. There we go. Let's jump back to the very start. And there we go. Nice little walk animation. Now, do you know what? I'm not really happy with that. He's too slow. I want it all to happen a lot quicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop that, jump back to the very start. I'm going to select my chicken, and I'm going to choose our dope sheet option. Animators will be very familiar with this one. But for everyone else, the idea of the dope sheet is to change the timing of your keys, but not to change the value of your keys. So I'm not going to change where he appears in the room or where he moves to in the room. I'm just going to change the time that happens. So let's have a look here. I'm going to hold this up so it's a bit easier to see. So if we drag it along, he starts here, he moves over to that point on the floor, and then he flies up into the air. Now, I want it all to happen a lot quicker, so I have to reduce the space between these two keys. So I'm going to grab this one and drag it over. So now he'll sit without moving for a longer period, and then he'll walk faster. And when I want him to go up, I want him to really shoot up into the sky. So I'm going to make that a very short amount of time. So there we go. I'm going to go back to the main timeline, and I can do that by pressing this. And then jump back to the start. I'm going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to play my animation. Go for it, chicken. Well, he's a little bit faster, and up into the air. Do you know what? I think we can make him even faster than that. let's go for it. We'll go into the dope sheet. We'll drag this right up. And this one, do you know what? To be able to make it even faster, I'm going to zoom in. Now, the zoom always happens in relation to the timeline. So let's put the timeline in the area where we want to zoom in and try the plus. There we go. Look at that, zooming in nicely. Okay, I wanted to shoot up into the sky extremely rapidly, so I'm going to bring that right in. Oh my goodness, that's going to be quick. So I'm going to move my timeline back before it, and I'm going to press play. I'm going to do it inside the dope sheet this time because it's the same thing. Okay, let's press play. Oh yes, he's faster now. Oh, there he goes. So that's an example of some simple keyframe animation. I'm happy with that now, so I'm going to go back to the timeline. And I'm going to select my goat. And while the chicken is doing that, let's make the goat do something else. So let's see. I'm going to set a key now. So that's the goat in his first position. Then I'm going to scroll forward. So while that chicken's walking around, let's make the goat get smaller. So I've selected my scale option here, and I'm going to shrink down the goat so he becomes a tiny goat. And then I'm going to set a key, and I'm going to move it back. And here we go. Let's preview our magnificent animation. Oh, the goat is shrinking away. There we go. And the chicken goes for a walk. So there's an example of some simple keyframing tools.